Thanks. I'm starting a little late, so we're not going to have time for lunch today. Sorry. No, I'm just kidding. I'll just talk fast like at the end of those commercials where they have the disclaimer. It goes like machine gun. I was asked to talk about what kind of equipment you might want to plan for, how to get it, and how to make sure that you get it done right. And those are all challenges that you're gonna, every family comes across at different points as time goes along. Unfortunately, there isn't really a defined standard of care for equipment that you find where everybody gets the same level of stuff everywhere. So the more that you know as families what you're looking for your kids, the better you can drive the program, drive the process to get everything you need. And as we look at some of the stuff that I'm going to show you today, not everything is always covered by insurance, but a lot of it is. And I tell everybody, the one piece of equipment that you will never get approved is the one you don't ask for. So as you're looking at different things that you feel like are going to be a benefit to your family, a benefit to you, because there's stuff for you in here too, and to your child, just remember that if you might find a need for it, ask for it, because you never know. Lots of stuff does get paid for. Some of you know Jennifer Wallace, that she was, before I met Jennifer, I was really only working with adults with Duchenne's in their 20s, 30s, and 40s. When I started working with Jennifer a few years ago, I started working with kids that were still walking and looking at what kind of equipment we could use for them to help them maintain the best postural health, be as independent as possible, keep joint range, do all the things that will keep you as healthy as possible for the rest of your life. So it's really important from the very beginning to look at what kind of equipment is going to be for the most benefit. And not everything is right for everybody. So even if it might be the best equipment, it might not be the best equipment for your family. Before we're over, Kyle Ornelas is going to come up here and just show you some stuff he got recently, and we'll talk a little bit about some options. You can see it in real life. So with that, I'm going to bring a couple things up to the stage, but some of the stuff that's a little difficult to bring up. This is an example right here of a folding portable, it's not portable, but it is a folding lift. So how many of you are still helping a large grown adult or almost adult child do transfers from one place to another? Yeah. I know a lot of you are, even if you didn't raise your hands. I can't tell you how many families I've met that have parents with bad backs, or they've torn muscles, or hurt their knees, or done other things. So earlier than later, learn how to use the equipment, get working on it so that you make life easier for you and your child and you don't get hurt. Because if you get hurt, you can't take care of your child as well either. So there's some equipment up here that just is going to make your life a lot easier to avoid injuries. This particular lift can fold up kind of compact, but it opens up like a regular Hoyer lift. It's battery powered, so it's easier for one person to do a lift. Just some things to look for. I know that the stuff I'm going to tell you is too much information to retain in one day. I'm going to leave some cards of mine out on the table if you want to call and ask questions later. My office is here in Orange County, and I work all over the Southland, so you're always welcome to call and ask for more questions on things. Over here, as soon as your kids aren't walking, there are different ways to help them stand up regularly. And one of the things Jennifer started saying a long time ago with the kids we're working with is get them used to using a standing frame before they need it. Makes such a huge difference on keeping good range in their ankles and their knees and their hips, standing up regularly. There is not any evidence yet that says that just standing has any impact necessarily on bone density, but it helps a lot of things. It helps digestion, it helps breathing. So all kinds of really good things come from standing regularly. And if you wait too long, sometimes you start to get some ankle contractures or other problems where you really can't stand anymore. So better to start earlier than later. This is one example of one where somebody can just roll up to it, put their feet in the little foot plates, strap on behind their body, and come up into standing without you having to do a transfer. So that is way easier than having to transfer somebody into a sit and stand device. The fewer transfers, like y'all have a certain number of transfers in your bodies that you can do over the lifetime of your child, so use them wisely. I'm pretty near the end of how many transfers I can do for all of my patients, so I'm always looking for ways to make them easier, and this is one good way to do it. We'll look at standing on a wheelchair in a minute. That's even easier. So that's that. How many of you do not have an accessible bathroom, but you still need to get your child into a tub? That could be a real challenge. This system here, I won't bring it up right now, but come and take a look at it during lunch if you're interested. It's a rolling commode bath chair, but you can connect it on a little bridge across your tub and slide right across into the tub so you're not doing a transfer in the bathroom. Really good way to be able to do bathing, hygiene, toileting, everything in the bathroom without doing a transfer in the bathroom where you run the risk of getting hurt. Okay, let's talk about wheelchairs. I didn't bring any scooters. Scooters are a great option, and I see a lot of kids here have them. They're a really good way to stay mobile when walking long distances is difficult. One of the things to watch out for scooters, though, is that the seat doesn't provide much in the way of stability for sitting up nice. So as soon as you see any things that are developing like leaning to one side or just postural things that aren't healthy, start looking at seating. So a good wheelchair can have a supportive backrest and a cushion that can really help somebody just stay up and sit nicely. I'm going to tilt this down. If the wheelchair isn't comfortable and your child doesn't feel like they can function well sitting back into it and change their position, it's very likely that they're going to want to lean forward and find a place to balance where they can be functional, because we all want to do stuff. More than look good or more than anything else, we want to do stuff. So if this is a place where I can do stuff, I'm going to sit here. And if I'm sitting here all the time over a period of years, that to balance here, I need to have what's called a lordosis. So I'm overextending my spine. And now gravity is pushing down on that extension, that lordosis, and over time it can become so pronounced and inflexible that somebody can't sit back into the seat. So the way to counteract that is from early on when we're sitting, try to make sure that the seat is comfortable and it's adjustable and that your child can move seating around so they feel comfortable sitting back into it. Because I can support somebody, the wheelchair can support somebody nicely back here. If I'm way up here, there's no easy way to support anybody. And if I've got so much extension in my spine and now I come back here and I'm looking at the ceiling, that's not useful. So you can avoid a lot of that. Dr. K made a good point that you can't stop spinal asymmetries, but there is a lot that can be done to slow things down or counteract them or put them off for a long time. And good supportive seating is one of those things. So when it comes time that your child needs a power wheelchair, you want to make sure that it has at least these features. And I'm saying this because it doesn't happen everywhere all the time, but it will happen if you're the one pushing for it. So it should tilt back, so I can change my position in space. It's a recline feature, so I can recline backwards. That lets me change the position of my trunk for doing different activities. Maybe back here I'm resting, but I need to come forward to work at a computer to eat, but this isn't a healthy position to be in all the time, every day. And then you've got to have adjustable position leg rest. So my feet can come in and out. Because the other part of this is that I'm keeping range in all my joints the more I can move around. And if I can't move myself all the time, then the wheelchair can help do that. If a person is weak and isn't well supported, and this is true of every person, as I look around the room, I would not say that you're all sitting in perfect posture. But you're all going to move. So every few seconds we change position. It's okay to sit like this for a little while, because then I'm going to go like this, then I'm going to go like that. But if I'm sitting like this all day long, after a little while, that is my posture. And so you can prevent that, you can help prevent that by making sure that seating gives your child a way to move around. They're well supported, they can move themselves throughout the day and they'll stay healthier. A lot of the insurance companies will pay for a seat elevator. So that helps a lot with transfers, reaching for things. What time is it? I'm probably almost done. Oh, I've got a couple minutes. Okay. I'm going to put this one down. So remember that big features are tilt, recline, power legs, and you should try and get a seat elevator for all kinds of function. I'm going to show you one. Even commercial insurance, California Medicaid, CCS paying for these. They will pay for them under the right circumstances. So it's a way that you can incorporate standing and mobility and independence all into one piece of equipment. So that'll come all the way up into standing. I get a lot of questions about what to do for a manual wheelchair. If you have a power chair, you still need to have a backup manual chair because there are going to be times when the power chair doesn't work, you got to transport it, you don't have a van. I do not recommend a manual chair that your child is going to try and push themselves around in by themselves, because typically most of the muscle diseases also mean that the kids don't have a lot of energy, and you don't want them using what they have to get to one place to another. You want them to use that energy for things they're doing. The other thing about manual wheelchairs that kids are pushing is the seat doesn't move. It's in one position. So it might be good for one thing, maybe some activity, maybe some pushing, but it's not good for sitting in very long because they're going to collapse. So look for something that's got a tilt. This is one of them. I love this little one because it's new from a company called Key Mobility. You can take off the backrest and the seat cushion. The whole thing folds down flat like a stroller. If you want to see a demonstration, we can do it outside. CCS, for example, they're paying for a power chair, a manual chair. If they need a bath slider, if they need a lift, you can get all of that stuff. And a lot of the private insurance companies have been very good about getting kids the stuff they need. I'm going to save the best for last. Kyle, you want to come up here for a second? I don't want to make you drive up my little ramp there, but just come on over here. So Kyle just got a new chair recently. Look at him whip around. Do you mind raising up? So while he's doing this, Kyle's got some things here, even with limited hand function. He's got lights he can turn on, so if he's driving around at night, he can avoid dropping off a curb on the sidewalk or running into things. He's got a wireless mouse connection, so he can roll up to a computer and use the mouse with his joystick without anybody having to help him get connected. Another feature that's available on almost all the wheelchairs now is Android and Apple phone interface, so that if you don't have the hand function to work your phone, you can do it through the drive control in your wheelchair. Joystick, fiber optics, whatever you're using. We've got one girl with SMA, different type of muscle disease. With one finger, she can text and update her Facebook page faster than I can. So it's just good to know that there's a lot of options available for access to all kinds of technology nowadays. Kyle has a custom orthotic seat cushion on here. So he went to something, you had a Rovo before, right? So he had the squishiest, least stable cushion available before because it was comfy, to a cushion that's custom molded to his shape, and it's firm and it doesn't have any give, but it also holds him in very nice posture, so it doesn't let him come out of alignment where it causes more spinal deterioration. And it's got a little bit of soft cover. I admire Kyle because it is not easy to change things. As your kids get older and they need to change equipment, and you go like, I got this great idea for what's going to be better for you, and then you get it for them, and they're like, I don't want to use that. So it's a big curve. It's a big change to go from one piece of equipment to another. I don't know. What do you think about the changes?
It was a pretty easy transition. It took some time to get used to the seat cushion, but it's more like sturdy, so my posture is a lot better.
Now, you said that you had a problem with your phone after you got the cushion, though, right? You want to tell them about that?
Yeah. Like, before, I was like, to use my phone, I was like, on my old chair, I was like, leaning to the side. So like this, so and like, on this chair, I can't really do that, but it was a pretty easy transition. It took some time to get used to the seat cushion, but it's more like sturdy, so my posture is a lot better.
Now, you said that you had a problem with your phone after you got the cushion, though, right? You want to tell them about that?
Yeah. Like, before, I was like, to use my phone, I was like, on my old chair, I was like, leaning to the side. So like this, so and like, on this chair, I can't really do that, but my posture is a lot better, so I guess I would take sitting in a better position over using my phone.
Yeah. Well, and so he's not going to give up using his phone, but now it means that we have to look for another way for him to do it. And that is the trade-off that you have to consider every time you're looking at new equipment, whether it be going from walking to using a scooter or a scooter to a wheelchair, is your kids are smart, they're active, they're getting things done, and then when you change equipment, it changes the way that they do things, and it's traumatic. So the one thing I learned a long time ago, I came back from my first conference like, I have all these great ideas. And then my patients all hated me because they don't necessarily want all the stuff unless they want it. So now I tried more to educate people. For Kyle, it means that we're going to help him, or he's going to work on getting a little phone holder that holds his phone right here next to the joystick, because he can move his hand over to do that. And so he's still able to do things, but it means doing them a little differently, and that's not always the easiest. And I'm going to tell him, I built him a custom orthotic backrest. He doesn't want to use it. It's okay. You know, you don't, I can't make anybody, and you can't even make, as your kids get older, you can't make as many of the decisions for them. They're going to make a lot of their own, but you guide them the best they can. So he's got the back shell, and when he's ready to use it, he can use it. I think one last point that's a really good one to make is, I was thinking about this with you and some of the stuff you do. You have to make sure that when stuff is getting picked out, when the new equipment is getting picked out, that you're involving your team in it. That's going to mean a clinician like a therapist, doctor, parents, caregivers, certainly, of course, your son, and that you all talk about all the things that you want this piece of equipment to do so it works when you're done. I meet kids sometimes in clinic, they're like, I'm getting this new chair. What kind is it? I don't know. How are you going to make it tilt? I'm not sure yet. They said they'd figure that out later. If you make sure you've got clinical advice and expertise involved in the process every time, it's much less likely that things are going to go wrong. And you'll have, you know, the help from the clinician to work out some of those things too when little hiccups come, because they will. Thanks a lot, Kyle. Appreciate it. I know it's lunchtime, so if you want to stop by and see him during lunch, I brought a 4-wheel drive off-road chair. A few families I work with, I'm able to go across deep beach sand. I've got one girl with SMA. Her parents have a cabin up in the mountains. She can drive through the snow. One family I was talking to a couple years ago was working on getting a group of parents together to buy one and share it, because they're expensive and you don't use it all the time. So, you know, be creative. There's some options out there for some of those things. The other one over there is a folding manual chair with a power joystick add-on, so that it can be taken on and off and you can use it for traveling. One of the families I work with has that. They travel to Europe and other places and they can take it with them. I have also seen now that you can buy dirt cheap on the internet. This one, somebody here has it. It's the Easy Rider, I think, for like $2,500. It's a really basic sit and drive wheelchair with motors on it. It folds up easily. Nice way to be able to travel. It is not a good way, your son has it. It is not a good thing to sit in all the time, every day, if somebody's wheelchair bound. It's a good supplement for making it long distances. And I think it's lunchtime. If you have any questions, if there's a couple questions I can answer them now, then I want to make sure you all get to lunch. Yes? Yes. There is no way. Have you seen the commercial where the people are throwing the suitcases off the airplane? They do the same thing with wheelchairs. All you can do is call them ahead of time, talk to them when you get there, ask them how you're going to do it, tell them I'm going to watch you do it. And I know. In place of buying your own jet, I don't think there's any way to make sure this stuff gets on there. I mean, I do. One of the people that works for Permobil is a quadriplegic with a spinal cord injury. He says he's traveled for years and hasn't had his wheelchair damaged. So I think he's very proactive, and all you can do is do the best you can. But I don't have a good one on that one. Oh, they're not interested in anything we have to tell them. I'm sorry. I wish that was the case, because we would. Any other questions before we break for lunch? Yes. The cushion that Kyle has is made by a company called Ride, and they're the only company that makes a custom molded orthotic cushion. So it loads weight where a person has muscle tissue and does not touch the bony parts. So for me, who's got a really skinny butt, it means that I can sit on one of my own sample cushions and be relatively comfortable for a long period of time. A Rojo, okay, so you have, briefly, you have cushions that are air or fluid, and then foam, and then some type of custom molded cushion. A Rojo is an air cushion, which is kind of like a glorified beach ball that lets you let the pressure out and you can sink into it. Very good for pressure reduction, very bad for any kind of stability. So if I'm unstable in my seat cushion or in my seating, I'm going to find a place where I can lean and rotate and twist, and finally I reach the end range in my spine and I'm stable and I can just stay there. And that's what happens if the seating isn't stable. foam cushions don't have as much submersion, so they tend to build up a little pressure in bony areas, but a lot of kids are happy on them. They got good sensation so they can move around a bit. Not as good for, they don't have any particular shape usually. They're flat, so they don't do a lot of positioning. And then there are custom molded cushions. Most of the custom molds are carved out of big giant blocks of foam, so they're really big and bulky, and they have to be sealed because they will absorb sweat and moisture and such. So they're like giant sweat baths, which is not good for skin integrity and such. The ride system is built out of little foam beads that do not absorb. They're closed cell. They're glued together. And so you can make a cushion out of it that will let heat and moisture go through it. It's easy to carve on it. For the back shell, it's a plastic shell that's made from a person's body shape with a thin liner of that foam in there, so it breathes as well. And Jennifer and I first started experimenting with that, Jennifer Wallace, the PT, a few years ago, looking for ways to give more aggressive positioning for some of the kids that were developing some spinal asymmetries early on. And we found that it does take a little work usually to get kids with full sensation and limited movement used to them. But a lot of those kids we've had for years in those systems now, they won't sit on anything else because they get so much stability, and from the stability comes function. I'm going to leave my cards back on the table where I have the equipment. If you want to call and ask any more questions or any of you, you're welcome to. Thanks.